Welcome into the San Francisco 49ers Report. Chase Sr. here with you. And as always, no matter where you are or how you're tuned in, I greatly appreciate all of you for making today's show a part of your day. And coming up, it's a special one. The season is almost here. Week 1 preview as the San Francisco 49ers travel to Seattle to play the Seahawks on Sunday for this Week 1 tilt. Naturally, we start off with this. It is prediction time for the faithful. Who wins this game? Type SF for the 49ers, SEA for the Seattle Seahawks. Get those predictions in, and I'll give you mine coming up here at the end of the show. All right, let's dive into our preview here on the program. And what a way to start the year for the Niners. One of the best, most intense rivalries in all of professional sports. And so the stage is set. Kickoff is slated for September 7th, this upcoming Sunday, 4:05 p.m. Eastern, 1:05 p.m. on the West Coast. Game taking place at Lumen Field, one of the more difficult places to play across the entire NFL. And there's been a little bit of line movement here. San Francisco all offseason, 2.5-point favorites. It's now gone down to Niners -2. So Seattle getting 2 here, that tells me some late money coming in on the Seahawks. And I do think people are sleeping on Seattle here in 2025. The over-under for this game, it is low compared to other games in Week 1 across the league. 43 flat. Odds makers expecting this to be a low-scoring, knock 'em out, drag 'em out type of brawl, and that's usually what this game entails between San Francisco and Seattle. And isn't this awesome? Everybody's always told me, and this is the consensus across the NFL, that going to Seattle, such a difficult place to play. And I still think that rings true, but it's going to be a little bit different on Sunday because according to Vivid Seats, 53% of the crowd will be Niner fans on Sunday. So you will see a lot of scarlet red in the stands during this broadcast. Let's also hit some Niners injury news here. Shockingly, there isn't a lot to talk about. This was a preseason and training camp where the Niners were signing bodies off the street left and right, where they were making roster additions just to get through practices and preseason games. But luckily, as the Niners are about to embark on the 2025 campaign, they are the healthiest that they have been, no joke, in years. The only player injured this week not practicing up until this recording, rookie wide receiver Jordan Watkins, who had that high ankle sprain during that first preseason game against the Denver Broncos after he had that 50-yard reception. The Niners have been top 10 in injury rate every single year under Kyle Shanahan, except for 2023, when they were the 4th healthiest team. And what happened? They made it to the Super Bowl. They should have won the Super Bowl. So when health has been on their side, San Francisco has been humming. And right now, on the injury front, Niners in a really good spot. Now, with that being said, there are still major concerns at the wide receiver position. San Francisco is shorthanded here just because of the injuries that have taken place throughout training camp, and in the case of Brandon Ayuk last year against Kansas City. And so going into this Week 1 matchup, the top 5 wide receivers most likely going to be Ricky Pearsall, wide receiver 1, Jawan Jennings, wide receiver 2, and then after that, a bunch of unknowns. Russell Gage yesterday on Tuesday was released. He's expected to be added back to the practice squad and then elevated to the game day roster. I expect him to be in the mix. Marquez Valdes-Scantling was moved from the practice squad to the active roster, most likely because a team was trying to poach him. And so he too is going to get some run at that receiver spot. And last year, under Kubiak, who is now the OC with the Seahawks, was the OC for the Saints, he averaged more than 20 yards per catch. So he gives San Francisco that vertical element to this offense. And then Sky Moore probably going to be included as a gadget guy. And obviously the number 1 return man. I don't expect him to get a lot of targets because he's not a great wide receiver at this point. And so because the Niners are shorthanded at wide receiver, expect Kyle Shanahan to have a lot of 12 and 21 personnel packages present. We're going to see a lot of 2 tight end sets We're going to see Kyle Juszczyk on the field. As always, this is the patented approach for Shanahan. He wants to establish the run, and the Niners are going to run it a lot. And I think that they can get by doing that for the short term, not the long term. I always side with more of a balanced offense. The Seahawks injury report. Jake Bobo, wide receiver, concussion. Wide receiver Torrey Horton, ankle. Those are two players who Seahawks fans really like. Linebacker Tyrese Knight, dealing with a knee injury. And so that is the injury report for Seattle going into week 1. My read on the Seahawks going into the season opener, look, I think people are really underrating the Seattle Seahawks. I think they're a quality team. We're talking about a ball club that won 10 games last year, and they lost some games very late. They got upset in some games. For instance, losing to Daniel Jones at home early in the year. That was a borderline playoff team a year ago, and frankly, I think they might improve year 2 under Mike Macdonald. Speaking of Mike Macdonald, when he was the defensive coordinator for the Baltimore Ravens, he gave Brock Purdy and Kyle Shanahan a lot of fits. The first matchup between the Niners and the Seahawks last year, San Francisco won that game. It was a pretty impressive offensive showing. The second game, they really struggled. They were very up and down. So Mike Macdonald kind of caught up to Kyle Shanahan, and his scheme has given Shanahan and Brock Purdy problems. When the Niners go up against zone defenses, Purdy and Shanahan, they're surgical. When they have to go up against press man, that's when they really falter. And so that's something to remember going into this game. Sam Darnold is the new quarterback for Seattle. He takes over for Geno Smith after Geno was traded to the Las Vegas Raiders. There's no more DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett. They were mainstays with the Seattle team for many, many years. The top 2 wide receivers now for the Seahawks, Jackson Smith and Jigba, and Cooper Kupp, who stays in the division, going from the Rams to the Seahawks. My read on the Niners. Look, I think they have one of the NFL's best coaching staffs. You'd be hard-pressed to find a better coaching staff top to bottom than Kyle Shanahan on offense, Robert Saleh on defense, and Brant Boyer on special teams. And so that quality coaching staff is going to give you a chance week in and week out because they're going to be prepared for every opponent. What I also like for the Niners going into this year, throughout training camp and in the preseason, it's a huge changeup of what we witnessed and what we experienced this time last year. The vibes have been great. Last year, you could tell the Niners, they were struggling mentally and physically coming off that Super Bowl defeat and that long season. But now the Niners are hungry and they are very motivated. A concern I do have with the Niners going into 2025, this is a very top-heavy roster. They still have a lot of stars. They have some marquee players, but this team is not as deep as it's been in years past. And so I like the makeup of this team, but if they do suffer injuries and they have to tap into some of that depth, it could end up being a difficult season for the Niners. There are going to be some defensive growing pains. There is no doubt about that. Yes, you have Robert Saleh, who is such a massive upgrade from Nick Sorensen. It's like going from a high school 4 to Sidney Sweeney, right? But on the defensive side of the ball, there are so many young players who have larger roles this year. And so they're going to make some mistakes. There's going to be a little bit of a learning curve. I think quality coaching can elevate them, but there are going to be instances in which they make some youthful mistakes. 2 breakout candidates for the Niners this year. I think Brock Purdy has an awesome season after he got paid. And I know he kind of broke out in 2023 when he was top 5 in MVP voting, but I'm just talking about the Purdy-Pearsall connection. I think this year becomes one of the best quarterback-wide receiver duos in the NFL. If Pearsall can stay healthy, I think he puts up stupid production. As far as this division goes, the NFC West in 2025 is going to be the wild, wild West. It would not surprise me if any team won this division by season's end and hosted a playoff game because they are the NFC champs. Now, I think the Niners have the best chance to win this division, but right on their heels, the Rams and the Seahawks. I would put the Cardinals, and the betting odds back this up, as the 4th best team in this division, but they are a team that has improved. And if Kyler Murray can be more consistent and not play as many video games, I do think that Arizona can improve by leaps and bounds potentially. So every team is in the mix to win this division here in 2025. Before we continue to push forward for our Niners Seahawks preview, don't forget to hit that sub button for elite Niners coverage every single day and join us for our Niners Seahawks watch party on Sunday. The show begins 3 p.m. Eastern, 12 p.m. Pacific. You don't want to miss it. And if you've never watched one of our watch parties, it's the best place to experience a Niners game day outside of being at the actual game. Coming up next on the other side, my keys to the game. What the Niners must do to beat the Seahawks to kick off the season at 1-0. Stay tuned for that because you will become a more informed Niners fan here in just a few moments, and that's what we always do. Our sponsor for today's show, our friends at Omaha Steaks. We are so pumped up to partner with them for the 2025 NFL season, and you don't want to miss out on this deal. Check this out. Visit omahasteaks.com for 50% off site-wide during their Red Hot Sale event. And for an extra $35 off, use the code 49ers at checkout. That's 50% off at omahasteaks.com and an extra $35 off when you use the promo code 49ers at checkout. See site for details. That link is down below, attached to the pinned comment in the show notes of today's 49ers report. Omaha Steaks offers unrivaled quality and variety. Every bite is backed by their 100% guarantee. Right now, it's the perfect time to stock up with the exceptional handcrafted flavor and convenience of Omaha Steaks. Every steak is perfectly aged to maximize tenderness and hand-cut by master butchers in America's heartland. Grass-fed, grain-finished beef has more marbling for exceptional flavor and is the choice of steakhouses and professional chefs all around the world. Omaha Steaks delivers an exclusive lineup of USDA-certified tender steaks, and their fan-favorite filet mignons have achieved the distinction of USDA-certified very tender. Omaha Steaks has been America's original butcher since 1917, a family-owned company with over 100 years of expertise in the meat industry. So go to omahasteaks.com to get 50% off site-wide during the Red Hot Sale event and use the promo code 49ers at checkout for an extra $35 off. Minimum purchase may apply. See site for details. A big thanks to our advertiser, our sponsor, Omaha Steaks, for making today's show possible. Really appreciate them for sponsoring and powering the show. All right, we move forward on today's show. Here are my keys to the game for the 49ers to beat the Seattle Seahawks in Week 1 to start off the 2025 campaign 1-0. Let's begin with Christian McCaffrey. He is back. He is healthy. He looks good, and he is a game changer for this Niners offense. When he's right, he is one of the best, most dynamic, most explosive players in the National Football League. Of course, you do have injury concerns with him. He's in his late 20s. 3 of the last 5 years, he's missed 10-plus games. But for San Francisco in 2022, he helped to change this offense. In 2023, he took it up a notch. Top 5 in MVP voting, Offensive Player of the Year. His ability to impact the game in a plethora of ways is truly one of one. And him being back for this team can really vault this Niners offense into once again being one of the best overall offenses in the NFL. Running the ball, catching the ball, short yardage, in the red zone, CMC is money. Key to the game number 2, can the 49ers defense be buttoned up? What I mean by that, there are going to be some growing pains with how youthful this Niners defense is. They are counting on contributions from multiple rookies: Maliek Williams, CJ West, Alfred Collins, Marquis Siegel, Upton Stout, potentially Nick Martin. And so the upgrade in coordinator from Nick Sorensen to Robert Saleh is massive. And I think that Robert Saleh is going to help streamline the development of these young players. He's going to put them in a position to succeed. As we saw during the preseason, he won't shy away from being creative, exotic, and aggressive. But because this Niners defense is going to feature a lot of players who haven't played a lot of NFL football, there are going to be some mistakes that happen from time to time. That can be offset with them being helped by some of the veteran pillars on this team, like Nick Bosa, Fred Warner, Deommodore Lenoir, Malik Mustafa once he comes back. But you just don't want to see too many lapses in this game to the point where it can cost you. Key to the game number 3, the Niners have to get pressure on Sam Darnold. He had an incredible year last year. He was a legitimate MVP candidate up until probably the final week of the year when he shit the bed on the road against Detroit. And then in that playoff game, he was awful against the Los Angeles Rams. Up until last year, when he was really elevated by Kevin O'Connell, Sam Darnold was a bona fide bust, whether it be with the Panthers or the Jets. Obviously, he was a backup with the Niners. It looked as though his career was trending toward him being a bust and a backup. He goes to Minnesota last year, and he played very, very well. Is that the Sam Darnold we're going to see with Seattle? Or are we going to see the guy who is prone to making mistakes? When you get pressure on him, and you're going to have disciplined pass rush lanes, you're going to have to set the edge because he can hurt you with his feet. He is prone to turning the football over. And so if you get that pressure on Sam Darnold, he will put the ball up for grabs. Nick Bosa, speaking of him, kind of brings me to another point I have with my keys to the game. Can the Niners generate a pass rush against a Seahawks offensive line that has really, really improved? In the 2 games against Seattle last year, Nick Bosa was tremendous. Then he got hurt in that second one, and the Seahawks up until that point couldn't really do anything on the offensive side of the ball. Nick Bosa goes out, then they're able to move the ball at will, and they shock the Niners with a stunning victory late as Geno Smith pranced into the end zone untouched. The Seahawks offensive line last year, it was bad. It is improved going into 2025. You have Charles Cross at left tackle, Gray Zabel, who I wanted the Niners to take in the first round potentially out of North Dakota State, looks to be a stud at that left guard spot. You have Jalen Sundell at center, Anthony Bradford at right guard, and Abraham Lucas at right tackle. Center to right tackle, some question marks. On that left side, I really like where Seattle is at, and the addition of Gray Zabel, huge for this ball club. Another thing with this Niners pass rush, it's also unproven, right? Yes, you have Nick Bosa, but you're hoping that Bryce Huff can turn back the clocks to 2023. You're hoping Mykel Williams can give you something at the very least, setting the edge and being a good run defender. You're hoping these young defensive tackles can make some plays, but there are a lot of what-ifs along that defensive line. Key to the game number 4. This is a big one, ladies and gentlemen. The Niners offensively have to finish in the red zone, and defensively, they have to get stops on money downs. I'm talking 3rd down, 4th down, and in the money area, which is inside the 20, a la the red zone. And these were key areas in 2024 for San Francisco. Their red zone offense was 14th in the NFL. Not good enough for a Kyle Shanahan-led unit, 57.1%, meaning when they got inside the 20, they only scored a touchdown 57% of the time. When they were on defense, they gave up 3rd down conversions at an unbelievable clip. And I mean that in a bad way. They were 25th in opposing 3rd down conversion rate. When the opposition was faced with a 3rd down, they converted 43% of the time. In the red zone, even worse. This is staggering here. When opposing offenses got inside the 20 in the red area, they scored a touchdown 68% of the time. That was second to last in the NFL. And so finishing offensively in the red zone, getting stops on money downs and in the money areas, big for the Niners in this ball game. And then my final key to the game here for San Francisco to pull out a win, it's turnovers and special teams. Going to Seattle, it's a difficult place to play. I also expect this game to be close. Seattle is a very feisty team. This is a great rivalry. It's going to be physical. It's going to be intense. And so this game, I think, is going to be decided on the margins. It's going to be tight. It's going to be a nail-biter. And so one turnover can sway it. A special teams miscue can decide this game. It can lose you or win you this ball game. The Seahawks last year were -6 in turnover differential, meaning they turned it over a lot and they didn't generate a lot of turnovers. And so that's what I mean there. And I do expect this Niners special teams unit to be a little bit improved. They bring in a new special teams coordinator in Brant Boyer. Look at the seriousness in his eyes. He is a no mess around type of coach. Coverage-wise, you have to imagine with him running the special teams unit, with the personnel changes that the Niners have made on special teams, they will improve there. But is Jake Moody going to improve? What we saw in the Raiders preseason game was very alarming. He missed from 50 plus, barely made it from 26, and then he connected from 44, 50, and 59 to win the game. And you're thinking, maybe that game will change Jake Moody's career. What happened the preseason finale? He missed a PAT. You just don't know what Jake Moody is going to do with every single kick. Whether or not he can split the uprights or not, it remains a mystery. We will all be holding our collective breath. And if he misses a field goal here and there, if he misses a PAT, that too could cost the Niners a ball game. So you got to be fundamentally sound, and you got to execute on the fringes, on the peripheries, on the margins, especially in a game that is going to be contested like this one. So I need you to predict the score. Niners, Seahawks. Get those score predictions into the comment section right now. And drum roll, please. Here is my score prediction. I told you I think it's close. I think it comes down to the wire, and I think it's low scoring. Starters didn't really play a lot throughout the preseason, and so early it could be a little bit choppy, and offensively you could struggle to find a rhythm. So give me the Niners 20-18 as they move to 1-0 in the debut game of the 2025 slate.